Dave Wasserman, he doesn't understand democracy. He doesn't understand ranked choice voting. He doesn't understand the difference between plurality and majority. He doesn't understand the difference between impossible and possible. Dave Wasserman, okay, that redistrict. This guy apparently is a contributor to the NBC News or some shit. Here's a couple things he tweeted. First, he says there's 100,000 absentees that are likely to favor Garcia. Why would he assume that? Has he seen any of the fucking absentees? He's just going to assume that, okay. But to my eye, there could also be 30,000 unreported votes in the Bronx where Adams has an enormous lead. So he at least says that there's 130,000 votes out there, right? There's 130,000 votes out there. He doesn't understand ranked choice voting because he's going to look at this. Karen Matthews, she wrote an article. Adams takes a fragile lead in New York City Democratic mayoral primary. Now, Dave Wasserman is going to say, well, this would be accurate if fragile was replaced with virtually insurmountable. Oh, really? That's fragile with virtually insurmountable, huh? Virtually insurmountable. Virtually insurmountable? That's pretty fucking fragile lead, so he's barely in the lead, or basically he's got this motherfucking thing in the bag. That's like day and night, right? That's black and white. That's, Jesus Christ, you can't get more opposing than that. Adams takes a fragile lead, or he's already got this motherfucking thing in the bag. Dave Wasserman thinks that he's already got this thing in the bag. I think Karen Matthews is more correct. She at least seems to be going towards the truth. Might be in between, you know, virtually insurmountable and fragile. But fuck this David Wasserman. Fuck this David Wasserman. This motherfucker, he doesn't get democracy, doesn't understand ranked choice voting, and pay attention, right-wing Western media outlets, you imperialist, capitalist fucking pigs. Hell, if we just gave Catherine Garcia's votes to Maya Wiley, then Maya Wiley would be beating by Eric Adams by more than 50,000 votes. That could happen. In the last round, that could happen. Maya Wiley gets Catherine Garcia's votes. Now Maya Wiley is winning. Maya Wiley would be beating Eric by more than 50,000 votes, but I thought this was impossible. Virtually impossible. What? Virtually insurmountable. That's what he said. Insurmountable. I got that word from Iran's election. He had 20 million votes versus like somebody that had 2 million votes. He already had all the fucking votes. He had all the fucking votes. His lead was insurmountable, so therefore they went ahead and said that he had, you know, won that fucking sham bullshit election. But Dave Wasserman don't know democracy. Dave Wasserman is so far gone that he doesn't expect a candidate to get over 50% support of the people. What? Somebody won an election, right, with the plurality with only 31%? Right, that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. It doesn't matter if the candidate gets over 50% support of the people. Who gives a shit if there's democratic legitimacy? Who cares if we actually live in a functioning, legitimate, democratic republic? Who gives a goddamn fuck if the elected leadership actually reflects the will of the people? Who cares if the government is actually based upon the consent of the governed? Who gives a shit? Why would we ever want greater than 50%? Why push for a majority when you got 31%? That's where Eric Adams is. Eric Adams has 31% versus 22% of Maya Wiley versus 20% of Catherine Garcia. So he's beating what's-her-face by 9 percentage points. So the second place, he's winning by 9 percentage points. An insurmountable lead would be the majority. Once you win the majority, then guess what? Ranked choice voting is over. But Dave Wasserman, he don't give a shit about none of this. Dave Wasserman has given up on democracy a long, long time ago. It was said that Iran didn't get a 50% turnout rate, and they were worried about it. Their media, they were like, oh my gosh, is this a legitimate democracy? That discussion doesn't even get had here in America. Eric Adams, he won 31% of the vote. And to Dave Wasserman, that's a majority. That's the majority. That's an insurmountable. That's impossible. You can't beat 31%. Well, I guess if you had 32% or 33%, then there's 34%. Well, shit, there's 35%, 36%. This doesn't sound insurmountable at all. Insurmountable. I don't think he understands. Maybe he does. He's a fucking writer. It's rhetoric, right? You're using rhetoric. There's no fucking way you're trying to precisely get to the truth. No fucking way. Dave Wasserman, he doesn't have time to figure out which one of the candidates actually got, the majority of the people's support. He doesn't have that time. Eric Adams got a plurality. Round one of round 12 has already happened. Round one, we don't even need to do round two. Dave Wasserman's ready to just throw the towel in. Hey, Dave Wasserman, insurmountable means impossible to beat. Virtually insurmountable means just barely away from impossible to beat. Hey, Dave Wasserman, a plurality is not a majority. Hey, Dave Wasserman, fuck you. Dave Wasserman says Eric Adams has a virtually impossible lead. This is a lie. He's a journalist and he's fucking lying. Just bullshit rhetoric. And why? I don't even understand. It's like he's got some major deadline coming up and he needs to hurry up and... The only way that you can get an insurmountable lead with ranked choice voting is the end. The end. The whole point of ranked choice voting is you keep going until one of the candidates gets 50% of the population. Once they get 50% of the population, then you actually have a functioning democracy. Ranked choice voting doesn't end until somebody gets that majority. Once you get 50% plus one, then that's an insurmountable lead. That's an insurmountable lead. So a virtually insurmountable lead would be just barely, right? So that would be what? 49%, 48%, not 31%, barely insurmountable lead. 31%, that's not even close to being in the lead. That's very surmountable. That's easily surmountable. I'm not sure fragile is it, but insurmountable lead ain't it either. It's probably somewhere in the fucking middle. Virtually insurmountable. It's virtually insurmountable. Wow, he must have 49%, right? He's fucking got this shit. No, 31%? Only 9 points, huh? Only 9 points? There's 12 candidates. So you can eliminate 12 candidates, and then what is that, 400,000 new votes? I'm sure, you think 400,000 new votes might change? What the fuck is Dave Wasserman smoking? What the fuck? He's got a goddamn deadline. He's a contributor to NBC News or some shit. He's playing fucking politics. He's a dick. And I want the Western media to pay attention to this shit. Because what happened in New York City with this motherfucker and what's happening in Peru are the exact opposite things. So Dave Wasserman, he's playing politics. He's a liar. Maybe he's getting paid by the Eric Adams campaign. I don't know. But I do know that he's fucking lying. He's lying. He's got that deadline or some shit, right? He's already called for the New York City election, the mayor's race to be completely over. Just hurry up! Dave Wasserman cries out to the world, just hurry up, New York City, and just call the right-wing fascist Eric Adams the winner. He's the victor. He's the winner. You think he'd put his money where his mouth is? You think this Dave Wasserman would give me $1 million if the motherfucker is wrong? You're fucking wrong. You shouldn't be a journalist. You should definitely be fired sitting there saying that shit's virtually insurmountable, and then comes to find out 2 weeks later, Wiley become the fucking mayor. This motherfucker said it was virtually impossible, and now, what the fuck? You can't trust this motherfucker ever again. Jesus goddamn fucking Christ. So just hurry up, New York City. Eric Adams, the right-wing fascist, he's got 31% of the vote. We can't let a progressive Wiley win. No, no. Eric Adams is the mayor because he's got 31%. That's a majority. In Dave Wasserman's mind, 31% is a majority. That's, that's impossible to beat. That's barely, insurmountable. Is it barely insurmountable? Is that what he said? Virtually. That's virtually insurmountable. That's barely, that's almost impossible. That's almost it's 1 in a million chance, right? It's 1 in a million chance, is it? Is that what that's what virtually impossible means? 1 in a million chance? No, Wiley and Catherine Garcia have a very good chance, a great chance. In fact, I think it's almost just a coin toss away to winning this thing. So when he wants to say that it's impossible to beat, he's a fucking liar. It's not impossible to beat, or barely away from impossible to beat. If Eric Adams doesn't win this thing, after the ranked choice elections are tabulated, if Wiley and Catherine Garcia end up winning this thing, then this Dave Wasserman needs to find another fucking job. A journalist who lies to the goddamn people just so he can get his own guy to win, so he can skip over that whole ranked, that complicated ranked choice elections part. We need journalists who actually give a shit about the truth, not just hurrying to call an election to hurry up and finish an article because he's got a deadline to turn in tomorrow. Compared what Dave Wasserman is doing in the New York City's mayor's race to what the Western media was doing with Peru's recent presidential election. There's talk about a coup d'etat, but how can there be a coup d'etat when there's no president? I think there's a president. I think Pedro Castillo won this, weeks ago, and Pedro Castillo is elected socialist president of Peru. He won by 50,000 votes, and the Western media refuses to call it. They won't call it. He won by 50,000. They keep postponing it. They keep waiting, right? It's like they're just so damn capitalist and imperialist, they just can't fathom, they just can't stomach saying that a socialist was actually elected president of Peru. They couldn't say it. We've been waiting such a long time. Hell, maybe we'll just keep on waiting for the U.S. government to coup d'etat Peru. They never had a president, you never declared it, and they got rid of him, right? Jesus Christ. Right-wing fucking media, a bunch of useless idiots for the goddamn CIA coup d'etat fucking machine. Eric Adams, though, however, so you have Pedro Castillo, who won by 50,000 votes, but nobody wants to declare the damn thing, and yet Eric Adams is only winning the first round of 12 rounds by 75,000 votes, right? Win by 50,000, win by 75, that's good enough. It's not good enough in Peru, but in New York City, you're winning by 75, that's it. Go home, you won by 75,000 votes. There's 13 candidates. That means there could be possibly 12 rounds. That mayor's poll that said that Eric Adams needed all 12 rounds to be victorious. So that mayor's poll said that Eric Adams needed all 12 rounds to be victorious. So that means you can't say who the fuck won. You have to wait until the very fucking end. And then you also, to figure out how many votes could be swung, let's check my math. Maybe I'm mistaken in my math. Let's take a look at this math. So to win an election with a democratic mandate, a legitimate democratic republic mandate, you need greater than 50%, which is 50% plus 1 of the vote. That's how you make an insurmountable lead. How do you make an insurmountable lead? 50% plus 1 of the vote. When you have 50% plus 1 of the vote, then you have the majority, and nobody else can take that away from you. Now you have an insurmountable lead. So to say you're almost virtually impossible, that's 48, 49%, not 31%. Not 31%. No fucking way. Not by a long shot. 31%. Dave Wasserman, you may not know this, Dave Wasserman, but 31% is not greater than 50%. I'm going to repeat that 3 more times, Dave Wasserman. 31% is not greater than 50%. In fact, it's like 19 percentage points away, right? 31% is not greater. When you are greater than 50%, then that's an insurmountable lead. You cannot beat the lead with something like that, okay? So the numbers. So we got 97% reporting. Eric, Catherine, Maya, the top 3. So we got about 800,000 total votes, 798,000. And then Eric Adams is going to, he's beating Maya Wiley, 253,000 to 178,000. 31% to 22%. And then Catherine has 156,000 votes, and she's got 20%. So I think that it's possible for Catherine or Maya Wiley to win. Why would I say something like this? Well, let's just take one candidate. Let's take Maya Wiley. And let's say it goes all the way to 12 rounds. So let's just take the 2 votes, right? Eric got 253,000, and then Maya Wiley got 178,000. And so you add those together, and that's 430,956 votes. Subtract 430,956 votes from the total, and then you get 367,535 votes left. So that means when we go to the ranked choice voting tabulation, 367,535 votes can and will be redistributed before we know who won the election. Nearly 400,000 votes. So you're going to sit there and tell me it's impossible. It's impossible. No matter which way the 367,535 votes go, there's no way possible that the 75,000 vote lead of Eric Adams can be beat. It's not fucking possible. It's virtually impossible. It's basically impossible. What? Take 367,000 votes and somehow, give more than the other one? Then there's 75? All you have to do is beat 75,000 vote deficit. That's Maya Wiley is down by 75,000 votes. Well, there's 400,000 more votes to be redistributed. So she's down by 75,000, but there's 400,000 more votes that needs to be redistributed, and it won't happen until we get all the votes in, the absentee votes, and then that's what's going to take a week or two. And then once we get all the votes in, and then we tabulate the ranked choice elections. But this fucking Wasserman, this Dave Wasserman, don't want to go through the rigmarole. He don't want to actually go through the rigmarole and make sure we have election integrity, which guarantees a democratic legitimacy. You had the Virginia election, which had a 10% turnout rate. You think Dave Wasserman said shit about that? Do you think he was like, wait a second, 90% of the people boycotted the election and stayed home? Well, that's not even a legitimate democracy. My God, you're going to have goddamn Texas invade Virginia anytime because Virginia doesn't have a legitimate democracy. I think it's easy to see that 31% is not 50%. There's a 19-point difference. So even though Eric Adams is winning by 75,000 votes, the fact that there's still, 100,000, 130,000 absentee or maybe whatever, so there's still votes to be counted, the absentee ballots in the 3%, but then the ranked choice tabulation is going to redistribute nearly 40,000 votes. Nearly 40,000 votes are going to get redistributed until eventually you do get your majority victor. That's the whole point of ranked choice elections, is that it keeps going until you get a majority victor. Once you get the majority victor, then you can't be beaten. Then it's absolutely 100% insurfucking-mountable, in-motherfucking possible to beat. I got the majority. No, I got, there's 100 people, 51 motherfucking people voted for me. It doesn't matter if everybody voted for you. I won. That's an insurmountable lead. But if I said, well, there's 100 people and 31 voted for me, well, I basically won the whole fucking thing. Why? Well, because the other one got 22, but that's only round 1. What happens in round 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 12? The whole point is to get above 50%. So motherfuckers want to call this shit at 31% and then forego ranked choice, right? Don't even do the tabulation. Don't even do the ranked elections. Just call Eric Adams the fucking winner. And who gives a shit, right? Who gives a fuck? I think it's bullshit. Eric Adams is only winning by 75,000. That's not an impossible fucking beat. Oh my gosh, he won by 75,000? Well, fuck. Let's just pack it up and go on home. Meanwhile, Pedro Castillo won by 50,000, and they're like, well, let's invalidate this amount of votes. Let's invalidate that. Let's do this. Fraud! Fraud! That's what they did with Pedro Castillo. They couldn't say that he was the goddamn president, and Eric Adams did not win, and they're already calling him the fucking mayor. Oh, the right-wing fascist, yeah, he's the mayor, but he's not the fucking mayor. He's not the mayor. Well, the socialist isn't the president. Yes, he is. He won the fucking presidency by 50,000 votes. There was only 2 people. It's not a ranked choice voting. It was mano a mano. There's only 2 people. He beat the other person by 50,000. This is 13 different candidates. He got 31%. He, beat everybody else in the first round, but you still have several other rounds. You have the runoff because somebody needs greater than 50%. Pedro Castillo got greater than 50%. He got 50,000 more votes. Or maybe it's like 49% or someone, right? Were there any other candidates? It was just 2. He got a majority. He got over 50%. He got over 50%. So therefore, he represents the people of Peru. He represents the whole nation of Peru. Somebody who got 31%, of an election that, makes sure that you have a majority before you can declare that you're the winner. How the fuck are you going to say you're the winner of an election? Jesus Christ. It's bullshit. This, Dave Wasserman, you fucking broke my back with your fucking bullshit, your illogical, your stupidity. I just feel like it's politics. I just think that this motherfucker is hurrying up to call Eric Adams the fucking winner because it's like, I don't want to count this. It's already, late at night. I just want to type this article, say he's the fucking winner, and then we could just forget about this thing, right? Just crown Eric Adams the goddamn fucking mayor. Just be done with this thing. Jesus Christ. I mean, poor David Wasserman, he had to stay up like several hours past his bedtime. Jesus Christ, poor David Wasserman. But fuck David Wasserman. David Wasserman's a cheater. He's a fucking liar. He's cheating for Eric Adams, and he's lying in order to do so. He's a journalist. He doesn't understand the difference between plurality and majority. He doesn't understand the difference between impossible and possible. He doesn't understand the difference between a regular presidential election and a ranked choice presidential election. So yeah, Dave Wasserman, you want to wait for the impossible, insurmountable lead? You got to wait till the end of ranked choice voting. Until then, you don't know who the fuck won. Motherfucker wants to call this shit with 31 people voted for me. That's not 51. That's not 51. Somebody else could get 60-something votes, right? Somebody else could get 69 votes. So that's going to be the motherfucker who's the mayor, the one that gets 69 votes. We'll find out at round 13 probably who got 69 votes, who got 50. Greater than 50% of the votes. So what does any of this mean? I mean, to be fair, the article he was critiquing was kind of saying is a fragile lead, right? So they were kind of going too far one way, and then he goes too far the other way. Is that the whole point? So we just balance in the middle or some shit? I mean, is his lead impossible to beat or just completely fragile and very easy to beat? Which is it? Is it easy to beat or impossible to beat? Or somewhere in the middle. Maybe Eric Adams has a comfortable lead, but not too comfortable. Maybe just right there in the middle. Not a blowout, but not, barely fucking winning either. He's got a comfortable lead, but not too comfortable. Not a fragile lead, and not an impossible fucking victory. An impossible lead or whatever. So what does this mean? This means get those absentee ballots in, count them absentee ballots, go ahead and purify, whatever, fix those absentee ballots if they tell you got to fix it because you didn't do it right the first time. And then get to ranked choice election tabulating. Start tabulating those ranked choice elections. Start tabulating those ranked choice elections, God damn it. And then once you've done a couple rounds, and then once there's a greater than 50% majority victor, then Dave Wasserman, and only then can you tell me that there's a virtually insurmountable